All right. Welcome, everybody, to History Lessons. I'm your host, the journalist Sin-seer, and today we have a very special guest, the legendary Godfather Don. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yo, no problem, man. No problem. We in here. We in
No
here.
doubt. You got a new project dropping at the end of the month. But before we do that, let's take it back in time for those who may forgot, may have never known. Where was Godfather Don born and raised?
In Brooklyn, New York, Brownsville, East New York, probably to be more specific.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, yeah. I guess you could call it East New York. You know,
day, day in the life for Godfather Don as a teenager growing up.
music, uh, drawing, drawing, um, writing, music, drawing, sculpting, music, model making, drawing, you know, basically,
Right.
basically.
You come from a musical family background?
Yeah, my pop played guitar. My brother played guitar as well. I used to fool around with him when his band used to play, like house parties and stuff in the 80s, late 70s and stuff. I was right there, like at the drum with a stick, pop up, like I'm in the band. But the band members, hey man, Oscar, get your little brother out of here, man. My mother be right there, like looking at my brother, like if you tell your little brother to get out of here, I'm shutting this down. I'm like, yeah, I'm rocking, my little stick cowbell or something.
Right.
So yeah, very early on, snuck and played with his Fender Stratocaster every chance I could get when he would go out, hang out with the girls and stuff, and
Were you
yeah. So that was basically it.
you
Creative.
pretty much self-taught?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard now because you know how hard it is to learn anything when you're older. So, but playing like the live music now and the jazz and stuff is so much material to memorize and study. It is never enough hours in the day,
Right.
you know.
So what were some of your musical influences, before, getting into hip hop? What were you listening to earlier on?
Whoa. I mean, I guess some people may know, but it it may be new information to some. But I like well on to try to I guess put it all together. On the back of Hazardous, I'm posing with like a guitar, you know what I mean? So I played and the intro to the Hazardous album, there's a guitar solo. So I played guitar and played rock music before I even got into hip hop. I got into hip hop because of another childhood friend of mine who was already into it, like late 70s. King Tim the Third, he was already writing stuff and everything. So he really got me into it and said, "Man, you should try it. It's fun, man. You can do it, and you can do it, and you can make tracks and music if you get a little drum machine, blah 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 blah." you know, but he was my best friend at the time. So, I mean, still is, but at that time, this very small circle. So,
Right.
I got into it just for that, and to help him make his tape. And, after that, I just said, yeah, maybe I can do it. So I just started writing little stuff on the side and doing little beats here and there and just experiments. So
Right.
that's how it pretty much started from rock and heavy metal. I guess teenager was more rock, but later it was like heavy metal, black metal, like all that stuff. I guess that people stay away from. It looks like them cats with the white faces and the black eyeline. All of that stuff. All of that kind of music, like yeah, I had tons of albums of that stuff, man.
Maybe
Used to
King Diamond.
yeah, oh, of course, man. Yeah, the Abigail album. when he was in Merciful Fate, I had all that stuff, and it just basically got more harder and harder and more extreme after that with bands like Immortal, Mayhem, Marduk, uh, Emperor, like just real brutal bands at that time, that was like 90s, getting into the 90s. So, the music was getting very hard. I was very much influenced by that music only because the chaotic element of it being presented in a musical context, that was intriguing to me,
Right.
like even with the music I play now, there's that same chaotic element that develops in it, as a part of the human expression. I mean, it goes back to melody and rhythm and groove, but just the avant-garde, the outer, the I guess the outer limits of sound and form and pitch and melody. I'm very intrigued by all of that.
Dope. Now,
So it was rock.
was that friend's name Sir Chick?
Yeah, Sir Chic. Yeah, Sir
Chic.
Chic.
Okay.
Yeah, Sir Chic. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I think a guy had wanted some of the old stuff, but I mean, I wouldn't want to. It would only be serve as like maybe a historical document at this point. You know what I mean? Because the I mean, I'm awful on it. Sir Chic was already tight. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like 1 foot in rock and heavy metal and just trying to just help my homeboy out, doing this. Oh man, play some rock riffs on that. Then program this beat like that. Okay, man, like this? Yeah, like that. So I mean, we still have the demo. He always sends me pictures and say, "Yo, remember these days, man? Yo, you should put this out." I'm like, I'm not putting that out. No, no.
Right. So
You
did
know.
producing come for you first or MCing?
Good question. I would have to say emceeing, right? Because I would, I guess one could assume that the music and the influences, the tracks and all that stuff was there before, at least in my case, before I decided to put words to it and say, "Oh, that's nice, man. I would say this." So, so I guess uh, the music was first, and then okay. So with Sir Chic, yes, words. I'm writing words. I'm just practicing, like yeah, da, da, da. And I guess saying words to like instrumentals and stuff like that. Um, After a while, I said, I think I can do this myself, and so I started fooling around with loops and this and that, and then before I knew it, I really couldn't put rap on anything else that except my own music. I mean, now it's different. I did like a whole bunch of different stuff, where I'm like, I don't got nothing to prove with beats anymore. So yeah, I'll rhyme on other people's beats. Yeah, you can do the music. I'll do. So I was really tight about that like many years ago, man. I would never do that. Never, never. But you know how it is.
So what was that
Yeah.
transition like from producing going into MCing?
It was really nice. It was nice because unlike producing with emceeing, you could flex on the subjects. You could, at least in my case, pick different rhyme formats and styles, as we used to call them, and just different angles and stuff. With the beat, was mainly whatever 4/4, boom boom, groove, this that. Couldn't really do anything like in jazz 7/8, 3/4, 8 bars of 4 and 6 bars of 5, and then go back to a 8 bar. I mean, I wanted to do that stuff, but nobody would have it. Nobody, nobody was like, I don't think so. Do you
Yeah.
imagine how it is in the club? Like boom, do, 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 you know, I don't think it'll work.
Right. Earlier on for you, what was the creative process like?
Oh yeah. I mean, lots of hours of as far as musically, lots of listening, tons of listening. I mean, I already had like my ear was trained from my father's record collection and my brother being a DJ when the records were still, meaty, like late 70s, early 80s, you know what I mean? Real good production, good records and stuff. And so he turned me on to all. I mean, I was just listening. The early years of, I guess, formative years of being like a producer and stuff, just immense listening, deep dive into any and everything. And I used to hear like certain sections of like a bar here or a measure there. I would say, man, if that was just stretched out, that would be a whole record. I'm telling you. And then I just found a way to start doing that, and it just became like a real cool fascination, something that was really fulfilling. And I mean, just hours of pleasure, just taking like the minimum of a track, the minute aspects of a passage, a musical passage, and just to expand on it. To me, that was uh, like a scientist and I mean, that's what it felt like. Wow, eureka! You make something you like, and then you sit back and you listen to it. I did that. You're amazed at yourself early on at first. Before you really learn stuff and hear everybody else, and then you go, oh man, I gotta do some more digging. I gotta, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that's how it was in the beginning. A lot of listening, a lot of experimentation.
Now
You
you
know.
self-produced all of your demos earlier on, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, everything. Because um, so much heavy experimentation was going on. I used to end up. Everybody knows. I used to end up with like all these piles of tapes and demos and CDs, like, you just lay verses on it. Because at the time, I used to write like a madman, books and I could show books. I still write. I love writing, so books and books, and then on this side, this and this, beats and beats. So, one day I did it like the Popeye cartoons and just took them and folded them like a deck of cards. And the beats on this side run. Then you had sandwiches, like, yeah, boom, boom. Then I just stack them. Then I just used to make my own mixtapes like this is the best of this. And that's how those demos had started. I mean, I lost tons of them, but I guess what's left is probably what everybody's familiar with, like the classics, so to speak.
Right. So what would you say that time frame was, early demo making?
That was definitely let me see, one of the earliest ones, like I think that was the first one I put out on Chop Herring, or maybe Diggers with Gratitude, probably. But the demos were from about 80, maybe about 80, 85, 6. I mean, my first demo, I think, was in 82. I still
Mhm.
have that. My
Wow.
first demo was like maybe in 82. And of course, it's about a chick that just moved in the building, man. And what better way to try to get her attention than I wrote this song for you. Like,
Right.
yeah, corny, man. But anyhow, so yeah, that was about it. Yeah, 80. I would say mid to late 80s. Where I was really thinking about it a lot and writing a lot and stuff, not knowing what was going to happen. I never set out to say I want to be a rapper. I want to be I've never done that. I don't think I've ever come to anything creative like that. Now I'm gonna sit here and book, because for me, anything that's uh I mean, that's a whole philosophical thing. That's another conversation, I guess. But the point being that the creative impulse was already in me. So it was never a matter of, okay, what shall I do today? It was like, okay, I got 5 hours, and I got to do this, or something is, I just got to fool around with this machine or pick up this guitar or cut this tape machine on and start, because there's something I get, so that's how everything was made.
Right.
And everybody that started getting on board basically was saying, hey, he's making the biscuits. So we better get in the kitchen while he's making the biscuits. So, hey, make an extra one, make an extra, and stuff like that. So that's how all of that started. Hey, he's making biscuits upstairs. Don't you hear it? I
Right.
mean, it got a little wild, but you know,
At
that's
what,
how that's
at
how it
what,
was in the beginning.
at what point did you start working with Chub Rock?
That was like the I would say maybe was it 89 to 90. He used to play basketball across the street from my building, like in the school park. So people always used to say, "Yo, man, Chubb plays. He plays basketball over here." And I'm like, "What?" And at that time, the only thing I've ever heard of him was I don't know if it was a demo, maybe it was the first single, but it was the one where he was using the one man band beat. Um, I forgot what he called it, but it was just straight braggadocio. It was nice. It was really nice, man. We used to listen to that like on DNA. There was a show called DNA, like a radio show. Like remember that? Like real late at night, man. We used to stay up and listen to that just to hear everything. And we used to want to hear guys from our neighborhood. So we would hear Chubb. There was another group from Flatbush called Chaos. And I brought their album too, and it finally came out. And just a few other cats that, King and I, Izzy used to live around the way, and,
Okay, yeah.
and, and the Majesty and stuff. So we used to hear all those records. And once I start hearing that, those crews, they live around here, and you're starting to do it. So you need to blah, blah, blah. So a mutual friend had introduced me to him and said, yo, man, blah, blah, blah. So he said, all right, let me check out what's going on, man. Come by the crib, man. I'm, you vouch for him, blah, blah, blah. So here's the address. So I went over there and took some tapes of what I was doing, took some books, like what I was writing, took some instrumentals, on cassette, metal cassettes, man, And next thing he said, yo, all right, cool, man. So what you want to do? And that was that.
So,
Yeah.
which labels did you shop to demo wise before landing at Select Records?
But okay, this may be a very weird or funny answer, but I didn't think I didn't think of making a record, or I didn't like when I'm talking with Chubb and we talking about music, and I'm just talking about music. I'm not thinking, man, when's he gonna? Man, I should ask him how can I get on what. I mean, that was never ever. He could tell you that was never ever on my mind. Yo, man, so when we gonna? Never. I'm just talking about music, telling him, yo, man, I like your records, man, and so how do you do me? Well, yeah. I probably wanted to meet Howie T more, right? That's basically, I said, yo, what's up with and I did get to meet him and check his setup out. It was great. So that's yeah. So that's how we met and when we met, like probably late '80s, almost maybe '89, because the album Hazardous came out in '90s. So We did the first Hazardous demos, which I wish I had copies of. The first Hazardous demos, I think, were like late 80s, 88, 89, maybe, you know.
Right.
Those, I think Chub and Questar, I think they had did the music. And then, I said I had some ideas of my own about the music. And, he was cool. He said, all right, man, go, oh, you got it. All right, do it. Do what you got to do, man. You feel it. And that was it. I'm kind of glad I did.
Right.
I think it would have been maybe a different reality if somebody else did all the music on that first album. Just
Right.
my gut feeling.
Right. So was there any other labels in a bidding war for Godfather Don, or was it all
Uh,
record?
no, no, no. Oh, no. Okay, right. So what I meant to get at with that first um, vignette back into the past with Feldman in the studio and stuff was that not thinking about when I'm gonna make a record. I had no idea about the record labels or who, whatever this. You know what I mean? All I understood was was that Chubb said, "Yo, man, let me take you up and meet blah blah blah." Blah, blah. So I went up and meet. I wasn't thinking, yeah. Then next week you should go meet them because if they're interested. But I was not thinking like that.
Right.
I just said, hey, all right, I'll give it a shot, man. Yeah, I'll go meet him. Yeah, okay. Can you make it out? Can you? Yeah, look, I'm doing it now. Just put me in a studio. That's how it was for me.
Right.
Hindsight is 2020, but you know, that's what it was then.
Right. You went by the name of Nitro at first, is that correct?
Yeah, man. Oh man, Nitro. Um, ah, yeah, Nitro. I want to say, yeah, Nitro. Let's leave it at that.
All
Let's
right.
leave it at that. Most people used to have G's and T's after their name, so it was Nitro G. No, 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 no. But it was a fun name because the crew I was with, we were influenced by comics and just what you might call nowadays backpacker type culture.
Right.
And we didn't think of it like that back then. That probably was the only thing that was there, representing hip hop back then. But we didn't think of it like that.
Right. You mentioned Hazardous earlier. What was the creative process like? It's your debut album. What was your creative process? What was your thought process
Oh,
going into
oh,
that?
that was hilarious, man. This was a Hazardous. This was a week. Well, this was like a day in the making of Hazardous, or let's say a week. I'd be home. I'd be listening to a whole bunch of records. I hear a drum. I go, oh yeah, that's good. Okay, then I put a sticky on it and said drums, track one, blah blah blah. Then I do the same and find a bit. And then when I'd go to the studio, I'd take all because I didn't have a drum machine at that time, believe it or not. So I'd take all of these records and I'd run over to the studio and say, hey, Greg, man, I need this like this and this like, and he'd just go, what? And and then I'd show, we do it and layer it and book. And it's funny, right? Because that that album doesn't have any drum programming on it. It's
Oh,
all loops, all of it.
wow.
All it's just all blends and loops and that's it. There's no chops, hardcore program. There's none of that on it. It's
Was that
just
on
like
was that
music.
on purpose?
I would say it was on purpose by virtue of the fact that I didn't have a drum machine at that
Right.
at that point. And and I was comfortable digging and listening to records and knowing exactly what I wanted to hear. So everything that's on Hazardous is exactly the way it was conceived, which is something I did like about record the process for making that album was that there were no actual, at least when I started making the music myself, there was a first demo. I won't even call it a hazardous demo. That me and Chub did. That's a demo. There's some demos pre-hazardous, but when I started the record that became hazardous, that was just me in the studio with the engineer, like for the whole thing. And just those records, and I'm just layering stuff, and they're chopping tape, and it was weird, man. And we didn't have a drum machine in the studio. We looped everything with, I don't even want to say it, man. I don't want to say it. It was just, trust me, it was wild. It was wild how the record was made. It was very wild.
What were
And
those?
guys, we had, everybody, other people were making their records at the time, that came out, and that are great records as well, or great records, in hip hop. And they would come into the studio and be like, yo, this is cool, man. And look around, and they don't see a drum machine. They don't see, like, cause it was weird, man. And I go into their sessions, they'd be like, yo, come check. I see SP1200s, what's the other S950s, man. I'm like, oh, you guys got everything, man. And I'm in here like a caveman layering stuff in it. But, I'm quite happy with the results. Looking back on it, I'm like, I'm surprised it came out the way it did. If you would have saw how I was doing it.
Right. What were those studio sessions like for you?
They were they felt, oh wow, it was like being in, it was like, not to be sacrilegious, but to me it felt like what God must feel like making something out of nothing, so to speak, or the constituent elements that already exist, and big bang, and you coming out with something, you're going home and you're listening to this, and you're walking on a cloud a little bit, and of course this is like first time I'm doing it and stuff, so you got all of that too, like the new excitement, and you don't know what's gonna happen with this, and your eyes, but it really was more mainly about the music. It was mainly about the music, and just trying to get it the way it sounded in my head, and it was really tricky doing it. Now looking back at it, I don't know if I would do it like that again, but it was real tricky trying to get what you heard conceptually from a bunch of records that you listened to separately, making them one thing in your head, and then holding that till the next morning until you get to the studio and go, okay, put this one first. You sure? Yes, that part right there. Second track, but you see, at 050, something like. Then put this one on that track right there. It has to start here. Insane, insane.
Wow. Did
And
did Select Records give you creative control over your album?
well, what choice did they have? I mean, at that point, I was like, this is how it. I mean, they heard a lot of the demos up to that point, so they already understood I could put together a tune, a song, or what I mean, a track. So I guess for them, the curiosity was, if we put him in the studio, will he be able to do it? Will he be able to whatever? So yeah, it was cool. Chub was cool. Everybody was cool. Like, yes, let him rock, man, and see what it is. So,
Right. When that
and
album,
it,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Okay.
yeah. So I mean, they would listen to the things as they came out and go, "Oh, nice. All right, keep going. You got more? Yes, I got more. You got more? Yes, I got more. Of course." You know, I would have handled that a little differently now, but You know how it is, man.
Right.
Young, fun, young, dumb, and full of, look,
Right.
right.
When that album dropped, what kind of reviews did you see? What was the feedback?
Um, uh, okay, again, um, well, I tell you, the only review I ever saw, because again, I was not the type that, okay, let me look in the billboard, let me, that just was not me. I was always about music, music, music. Finish that. Okay, I want to do something else. No, but you have a record, you finish. You gotta, you know, I didn't want to hear any of that. I didn't understood any of that. I just knew, okay, I did that. I'm bored. I want to do I want to do something. No, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, but I'm at home writing all this stuff, and I don't want that to get old, or it's gonna become a demo, and then it was really difficult to adjust to what you would call industry standard procedures. I till this day I probably am the worst with it. But I mean, it's a good lessons, good learning experiences. So the one review I did read, it wasn't favorable. The guy was, I guess the guy was saying something about, I mean, the way he rhymes, like you don't know, it's all over the place. It's like you can't, it's esoteric. You can't understand what he's saying. It's too much. And my nephew had showed it to me one time because we were in the record store and he was looking at a magazine. He said, "Yo, look," you know. And I guess to counter that, I was in the library like a few years ago, and they had like an encyclopedia of hip hop, some kind of something. And I was just curious. So I'm looking at it. If you see Ultra in it, I feel good about it. I said, okay, cool. And then I saw Godfather Don. I saw Hazardous. I said, okay, cool. So that was cool. I said, all right. I mean, somebody thought something of it, maybe even as an oddity or something. I didn't mind. I didn't.
Overall, were you pleased with that debut album?
No, I wasn't pleased with it. As far as the recording, because I had found out that it wasn't a good idea to make songs on wax over 3.5 minutes.
Mm,
And for me, I was rapping like the way a sax player would. You rap, you blow your verse until you said what you had to say. Then you take another you blow it. So that's how I was doing it. And they would be like long 60, maybe 20, 30 bar verses. And then I said, well, at least the hook is 8 bars, right? Yeah. They making hooks that's supposed to be this. I didn't believe in long hooks. Now it's the hook is longer than the verse, but I wish I was on that earlier. The hook longer than the verse. I think that's like a real true song format nowadays, man. But for me back then, it was just blowing, 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 blowing. Then some verse. Come on, come on. I mean, some chorus. Come on, chorus. Hey, get that pesky chorus out of the way. Yeah, back to blowing. Blah, 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 blah. That's how it was. So then, when I got the wax and I got it home, and the crew is in my living room, and we all sitting there, and I put it on, and it's so low. I was angry. Everybody looked at me, and I took it off the turntable and I threw it against the wall. Bang! It cracking all the pieces. And I took another one out of the sleeve and I put it on just to make sure. And I hear that one, the same thing is low. And I said, fuck. Bang! I threw that against, and the crew is like in the house going, fuck, this is his album. He should be happy. And I'm throwing all of these, I'm taking them out, cracking them and I mean, you know how much I would have had if I kept. I cracked like about 5 of them, gave away 10 of them. I said, man, I don't want. I can't, man, I can't. I was pissed, man. that day the crew could tell you I was, oh man, I was livid, man. I was beside, I was, that was the one of the worst days in what you could call a musical career, man. It's like, but you know, thank God the material on it kind of survived that little oversight, I guess some people may say now. But
Right.
yeah, that really stung when I first discovered that and heard it. You know, I said, "Wow, wow." There was
Were,
no way to fix it.
were you hearing the same things from the fans and the consumers?
No, no, not necessarily. Um, I mean, there wasn't. Somebody had told me that Bobito had played it. This is before I met Bobito, you know, because the show was on already going. So somebody said, yeah, he played it. I don't know if it was good. I don't remember. To be fair and honest, I don't remember if the review was good or bad. I don't remember. I remember them. One of my homeboys said, "Yo, man, Bobby Hito played something off Hazardous." Man, I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, man, he played it." And I said, "When did he play it?" He said, "Oh, it was late. You know, it was late." So I said, "Oh, okay, all right." And I mean, we all know where me and Bob went after that, but
Right.
yeah. And yeah, I really didn't check too much like who was listening really, because right after that I started trying to make remixes and I was obsessed at this point because of how in the manufacturing, you know, how whatever that issue. So I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to listen to it. I just went in the lab and started making demos and redoing some of the songs and redoing them, taking them up to, man, can we please do maybe just a single remaking this or remake? Oh man, no, that's not gonna work. And I was so angry. I remade Hazardous, like 3 versions of it. I made a few of them, and those I think I put those I licensed as well to I think some to HHV and some to some other places. But yeah, you know, like 6 versions of Hazardous, and some a couple of other ones, on and on. You know, with an old neighborhood MC Jazzy G on there, like a bonus verse on the remix to on and you
Right.
know, just stuff like that.
Were you
But
able to?
it didn't come to pass, like to remake any of those songs. Maybe it's better I didn't anyway.
Right. Were you able to tour off that album?
Nah, at that time I was still heavily into rock and I was studying guitar and studying music, and the rap, the full rap bug didn't really, I, I I mean, I don't know how to explain it other than I wasn't, you know, I know a lot of people that probably dig what I was doing and what I'm doing. You know, I don't want to make it sound weird, but I I mean, I was just into so many different things. Just you know, helping my friends out, filmmakers, you know, doing makeup and special effects for their films and sculpting and then painting and you know, just writing rock songs and playing in band. It was just a lot of stuff. I mean, of course, if I would have heard say, "Hey, man, that song's number two," you know, yeah, then you know, you switch. But you know, I didn't really get that vibe, and I don't know if they really knew Select really knew what to do with the record, to be fair. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I mean, they were a great record label that put out great hits. So maybe it was me, but I mean, it was a little bit different for what they had, you know, and you know, a little probably off the beaten path. So I don't know, maybe I mean, maybe they didn't like, I don't know. I don't know. It just, I didn't really get the feeling that they tried to put it out like a kid and play record, or I didn't get that feeling from it. Right? No video or no. So I'm like, okay. So every once in a while, I used to go up and say, hey, man, what's next? Oh, we're thinking of this, and then, so, okay. So at that time, that's when I started making a lot more demos and what would be pre-Cenobites, and then I met Keith while making those demos, and that was the other thing. So I really did. Once I started doing that and got immersed in just making demos with an eye to possibly making an another, like getting a second shot, so to speak. Or man, the next one I'm gonna make sure it's 3.5 minutes, that kind of thing. And
Right.
man, I gotta remember that. I gotta be in 3.5 minutes, 3.5. You gotta write the book. It was a hot, it was something.
Right.
But yeah. But once I started doing demos religiously with an eye towards possibly doing another album. Then I start going around, profile. Then I start, hey man, it's me. I that, you know.
Right. What kind of conversations did you have with Cool Keith earlier on?
Oh man, let's see. Wow, music related. Music related.
So you worked on
Yeah.
the Four Horsemen first, right?
No, the
No.
Four
Okay.
Horsemen was the last thing we worked. The last, yeah, the Four Horsemen was the last thing.
Okay.
The Four Horsemen, the records I contributed to that album, they were all done in my house.
Mm.
So I mean, that's how much I was on making demos, just or making records. I didn't even consider them demos. I treated them like records. I guess as everybody did who had a little setup in their house, treated as records. Like, yeah, I made a new one, man. I don't say, yeah, it's a demo, and can't wait to really get the pre-production going on it, and just relay everything. I wasn't thinking like that.
Right.
So yeah, we talked about music, man. I said, man, I like this joint, and I like that, man. What was it like doing? Yeah, I like this, man. And this and that, man. I hear your beats is like, Don, man, blah blah. And whatever, let me check out some beats. And I used to let him hear stuff, and he go, oh man, I would love to be blah, blah, blah. You do this at your house? Yes, I do this at my hand, but and that was that.
So,
Yeah, we just had like a war at that point, just a lot of the same musical interests and creative, you know, kind of perspectives. Let's put it that way.
right. What was the concept behind the Cenobites?
That when we entered the musical zone, we would assume the entities that would represent the lyrical exploits we would partake in. So, for instance, uh, what's the one? Rhymes I sniff. We were like two hip hop heads, like as drugs. Just looking for the next thing. So, we said, man, this is something that's gonna be real good, man. This is gonna take us where we need to go. Yeah, man. Let me get how much. We went through that whole thing, and we took the hip hop. I don't know what it would be, but we got into a zone, and yeah, that's good. Keep it. And then I do my thing. Then he did his, and it's cool. Then on the next one, we would be like two twisted executives, saying what new rappers should be like, and what the, or what the industry is, and just characters. And what was cool about it was that we 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 didn't have any industry standards as far as creative avenues or pers- um, perspectives, like the established hip hop direction. We, yeah, I mean, he knows it, and I was familiar with it, and I got into it, but I was interested in the left field, creatively. What about a beat that sounds like this, or what about something that's always in the beat that's going bing, 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 bing? Would you be able to say something over that?
Right.
Could you? Yeah, sure. Watch. And oh wow, all right, word. Okay, watch this. And then before you know it, you got a whole bunch of demos, and then some of those Stu Fine say, "Yo, man, I like this. I like this. I like this. I like." So that was that. That's how that went. So that's the Four Horsemen came out of the Cenobites stuff.
Okay.
At least my contributions to the project.
Was the Cenobites maybe supposed to land at Wild Pitch at that time?
No, I mean, again, I was not thinking of these things becoming records until Bob said, "Hey, man, you know." Again, I just loved making music, loved writing, loved hearing what I could write to what I could make as a beat, see how I could go together, then fine tune it, another beat, another change that beat, just like a leave me alone, I'm busy.
Right.
No, this is opportunity, but leave me alone, man. I'm trying to, don't you see I almost got that snare the way I want it, So
So the projects ended up at Fondulum. Talk a little bit about how they landed over there with Bobito.
okay. Once we started sending promos to Bob, to play, Bob said, "Hey, man, you guys should come up and do this live." I said, again, me at home with guitar, band rehearsal, but I'm like, I don't know, man. And my boys was like, "Man, you got a record out. You gotta come on, man. Come on, get with this. Get this." So I'm like, all right. So we go up to Bob, we do some things, we talk, we have fun. And it was new then, it was I mean, well, we didn't really know like how much of a historical significance it would later have, you know what I mean, as far as the culture, but it was really nice. It was like really, I could honestly say it was a real special time. They said like the 90s is the golden age of hip hop. I don't know, but it felt like that. Looking back on it, it certainly felt like that because all the coolest brothers was just walking around. I mean, Wu-Tang over here, Special Ed over there, Cameron and them up there. But I mean, it was wonderful, man. It's like God's walking the earth. You know what I mean? Like a
Right.
special time, man. Like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's something. It's great. It's great. Like superheroes just walking around in the building, man. Like, hey, okay, yeah, man. All right. Yeah, I'm going to do my thing. Yeah, me too. See you later, man.
Right.
Yeah, great.
What was the plan over at Hydra Entertainment?
Um, that was a reach out from Mike Heron, right? Mike Heron, and who worked with Mr. Familari at Hydra, formerly Sneak Tip, and the freestyle, all of that stuff. But yeah, once he started doing the rap, Hydra, he had, I think he had the Screwball first single,
Mm.
had some other stuff, Triflix, I think, you know, and some other local groups that that were really good. So I liked what was going on there. I said, nice, rough, gritty, the way you know, I like it. So Mike Heron said, "Yo, man, you need to come up, man. You know, maybe you and Keith come up." Because Mike Heron had ran into me and Keith. We were on 8th Avenue with Tim Dog. I mean, I know it's like, but anyhow, Tim Dog was promoting this this single he had called F Compton, you know,
Yep.
something like that. And he
Yep.
gave me a bunch of them and the cassettes and giving them out. It's like, yeah, man. You know, I said, yo, man, yeah, whatever. You know, chorus like, yo, you love it, man. I said, yeah, man. So Mike Heron was there on the corner with us too, and he says, yo, man, y'all, Hydra, whatever, Don, you definitely got to come through, man. Please, man, come here. And that's how that happened. I went up to Jerry's office, took some demos. You know, by that time, the demos were a lot better, or at least they were more plentiful. And so, it's a lot of different stuff you could hear. So I played them stuff, same thing, like, hey, nice, man. So what you want to do? And that was that.
Right.
Hundreds of demos later, and an album, Diabolique, and that was that.
So from 96 to around 2000, you released several 12 inches and instrumental projects. What was that period of your life like?
Um, Now it's funny, right? Because it's like you're the. Let's see. Let's keep it reasonable. I mean, because if people who are there are not present to say they're part of then for me it's like it doesn't make sense to even go into certain things too much. But I mean, I was doing a lot of stuff for a lot of people.
Right.
And again, at that point, I almost was I would say I was pretty comfortable. I would have been fine just doing music for people
Mm.
and not really doing any more rhymes or rap. I really was okay with that, not a lot of headaches, You do the beat, you go lay it down, they do all of that, blah blah blah. You get to run home, you can practice some more, you can study, you don't have to be in here laying verses and make sure you stay into the next morning and all of that stuff, I really and plus I was still had my illustration fashion job at that point too, in Midtown. There was one time I did I think I did a session with Vic, like as Groove Merchants. I think it was the Curious George session. And we were up so late. I mean, it was a great session.
Right.
George used to have real great sessions, man. Oh man, just good sessions, man. Real fun, real fun. But it's just so late, man. And we stayed so late that we it was dawn by the time we get out. I just went to McDonald's, had some coffee, hung out for a while, and just went to the job. Like like this at the job with a pen and paper in my oh yeah, I got it. You spilled your ink and the colors on it. Yeah, I know. That's a style. That's something like loose, it's like avant-garde.
Right.
Yeah. That happened like many times, like working with Vic during that time, so it was real busy at that time. So I didn't really have I couldn't it would have been nice to have a manager back then, probably,
Mm.
or somebody I mean, there were some people around that wanted to do that type of thing, but, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Around this time, did you also start the Africa Connection?
Oh, yes, definitely, man. I was playing, I was playing guitar, and um, the wonderful Papa Alex from the legendary Africa Connection from Sierra Leone, he says, man, to a friend of mine who taught me how to play guitar and helped me build my first guitar from scratch. He says, man, you have to tell Rodney, you have to get that guy over here, man, and I want to hear that. That's that crazy kind of good. I want to hear that's good. And Africa, in this high life music, we with guitar is the star. So the way he played, man, that's perfect for what we were. And my friend tells me, he says, man, you gotta come, man, you got. I said, man, I don't know how to play. He says, no, no, no. He wants you to play what you're playing now. I said, you mean like the all that's? He says, yeah, man, in the music. I said, oh, thank you, Lord. And I went there, started doing that, and that was great. That was a lot of fun, learning the African music and the rhythms and the culture and wonderful food. Oh my God, man! I mean, hot as hell, but I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot with Papa Alex, rest his soul. He passed like a few years ago. A lot of nice musicians went through Africa Connection, man. A lot.
So,
Not saying I was one of them, but I transitioned from the saxophone in that group. While I was in that group. He had a saxophone in his junk heap, and he said if I could get it to work or get a sound out of it, I could hold it and do whatever I wanted with it. So
right.
that was that. I mean, it's a little sidebar, but Africa Connection, yeah, that was after Diabolique, after was still making newer and newer demos, which some of them came out to be the Reformation with Mike L. That one, a few others. I did a whole bunch of records for the Neighborhood Crew. I wanted everybody like to have an album. That was like my fantasy, just to have everybody to have a demo. I
Right.
didn't know that the demo, the Godfather Don demo thing, I didn't know what that was gonna be, but I thought it was a good idea if I had all these demos and these are my dudes and they're all rhyming and I mean I'm getting inspired by them. I'm like, man, you gotta make a record. You come here Friday, and you, man, you come here Tuesday, and you come here Wednesday. So it was all these cool MCs, man. And I could make different beats for him. He likes comedy stuff, so I can use these Otis, I can use that kind of. This dude is serious, man. So I used the movie soundtrack stuff. It was the best. It was great. I said, man, this is what Marley must feel like, or those type of dudes, I
Right.
said, man, it's a great feeling, doing music for other people. That's when I got that bug. Like that was another part of it that I really enjoy. Just trying to create something for somebody else.
Right. Now you mentioned Diabolique that dropped, I believe, in '98. What adjustments did you make? Because I know you said you were disappointed with the first album. So
Right, right,
going
right.
into this album, what kind of adjustments did you make to get this to where you need it?
Uh, well, the way it was recorded, I had my MPC going by then, my MPC 60, and um, I got to be in the studio with more hip hop oriented engineers and people. Hazardous, the engineer was a rock engineer, believe it or not.
Mm,
But that was another story, another conversation. And yeah, Diabolique, I guess, and the writing was different. I had more of I don't know. I wanted to simplify things more. Let's put it that way. I
right.
wanted to simplify things more, really strip it down so things were very clear and very, I mean, this late thesis, the last album the album I just finished. That's like meat and potatoes. I call it. That's just there's no mystique about that. I mean, yeah, the lyrics and everything still have the esoteric, all of that stuff, but it's very simple. So going into Diabolique, the idea was just to keep things very simple, short and simple. So I don't know if I succeeded, but I know it was certainly the easy. Yeah, it was seemed like an easier process, than Hazardous. I mean, granted, Hazardous was my first thing, so maybe it was overwhelming at some points, but just simple. That's the basic. That's the bottom line to how I wanted to go about with Diabolique. Just simple, just straight simple.
Right. You got a lengthy discography. We won't go into each one, but maybe just
Right.
a few, just to get some background. What was the '90s sessions about?
Right. The '90s sessions were the transition from the Cenobites to what you would call the Hydra, Godfather Don, Donnie Brass, that kind of stuff, you know. And it was a little bit of a curve, I mean, you had great artists like Screwballs, you had you had a lot of great dudes there, all the Queens dudes, I mean, you had it was great. I mean, these are records I liked, and artists that I dug, so I wanted to make stuff that at least for my conscience that I could at least say, okay, if that comes out with that, I won't be too upset. If it was Hazardous material or that era, I would feel, I don't know how I would feel about it, like in the same, under the same label. But and looking back on it, I don't know if it really would makes a difference. I mean, like you want to tailor your music for the late. I don't know, but I still kind of did wanted to do my own thing, but I really wanted the label to like it, and I already knew I was like on the outskirts, fringe kind of underground fringe abstract kind of thing already. I already got that. So I was cool with that. I played guitar and loved black metal and death metal. So I knew I wasn't your standard, your hip hop, the poster boy for that. So
Right.
there was no illusions there. So it was just about music and doing music that hopefully people would dig and I don't know, would like it, I guess, basically.
Right. Was Donnie Brasco an unofficial third album?
I don't call that my third album. I've never listened. I mean, I've never listened to it. I've never listened to it. That came together long after I was gone.
Okay.
And
Unofficially,
yeah,
like somebody else put it out?
no, I think it was still Hydra, but it
Okay.
was after, it was after I wasn't really doing much music there anymore, or at the time.
Right.
And there was all the question of all of these demos and all of the, what Don does. Don goes somewhere and he stays there for a little while. And when he leaves, you look in that room, there's a mountain of tapes and songs and writings and all kind of scripts and all kind of goodies and skeletons of all kind of goodies, So that's your Hydra beats, that's your Hydra singles, that's your Donnie Brasco, that's your right.
Right.
So I mean, you had to do it all over again. You know, maybe you would do something different, or one would, but who knows? Maybe not. It is what it is. But I know I just like to produce. I was just at that point. It was just it was just coming out. So you had to just get in front of it, that sort of thing.
Right.
So that, mentally, this, everybody, so it was that kind of thing. Just, yeah, you can have it. I don't want it. That's older. You can have it. You got that kind of thing.
Right. Osmosis dropped in 2020. What was going on with Godfather Don? This is the year of the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
Where was
Now
that? Yeah, where were you at? And how did this project come about?
I was sad. I was hurt. The last if on my Facebook, the last gig I had before the pandemic really hit, as far as businesses, giving up the ghosts and saying, okay, it's finished. I maybe the night before the businesses had to do it, um, I advertised an open mind show. Yeah, we're back at Barbez. We're gonna do a residency again, man. It's gonna be great. I got a new trio, man. It's gonna be the blah 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 blah. And I put all this on Facebook. And the owner of the club called me and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, but there's gonna be no performances." I said, "What do you mean, man? I'm already telling people." So I'm sorry, man. The city said we can't allow it. That hurt. Then one after another, one after the other. Barbez, boom. Uh, this place, boom. You going this place, boom. And I'm like, oh man, what? And all my rap connections. I was like, hey, rap, jazz, man, yeah. But then when the pandemic happened and you couldn't go out there and make them and do nothing, man, I was like, hmm. And then somebody said, contacted me and said, hey man, the pandemic's going on and stuff. What you up to? I said, man, not much. Are you still writing? You still, man? I said, well, yeah, I don't really stop doing that. So they says, man, would you be interested in dropping a verse on? Yeah. What, you got that? Oh yeah, yeah, we got that. Boom. Did that once for somebody, did it twice for somebody else, did it three, and then parental had came and said, "Yo, man, blah blah blah. I'm this, from Mela," and I said, "Oh, all right, that's cool. Yeah, maybe explore some stuff in Europe," and started doing some demos there because I was just writing at that point. When I couldn't go out and play horn or do any live performances, just pulled out the books, pulled out the drum machine, and just I rediscovered making beats again, man. It
Mm,
was a wonderful feeling, man. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like that song "Reunited," and
right.
that was like was going through my head, man. I'm like, it was beautiful, man. The sound of everything, man. And just writing and writing. It took a little while for the writing to come around because I really wasn't listening to anything that was out at that point. But I was aware, certain cats, that's out there still, tap in and, hey man, you heard this, you heard this, you should hear this. This is good. Hey man, it sounds like you. You should be able to. I said, okay, okay, okay. So naturally things rub off and stuff. So um that was basically it, man. Through the pandemic, I said, yeah, I can do this. I can do it. Then I just start putting together stuff, and I ended up with another stack of lyrics, another stack of beats. And by the time me and Parental kept talking, and I did one with for him, and a guy called wow, it was called Waters with another MC. I forgot. Oh man, wow. But anyhow, I did a thing for him for his record. And he said, "Man, that's great, man. I like the way that came out. Do you have an instrument, something you could put, whatever." So I did a few of those things. Then that got around. Then I did something for this guy, blah, blah. And then Parental said, "Yo, man, why don't we just do a something?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Yeah, do a new project." I said, "All right, I'll see." And then that came together real quick, and there was a bunch of material, and that did pretty well. And we made a whole bunch of other stuff that I think it has yet to come out, which I like. I think is much better than Osmosis. I mean, everything you do after, I guess you're gonna say is better, but
Right.
At least I got more warmed up and a little bit more loose with the pen. So hopefully, I think they're doing some trying to work something out with that. But that material is pretty good too. I did that from home. I did both of them, Osmosis and whatever the next set is gonna be called, the next volume. I did both of them. Yeah, I did them both at home. I think well yeah, I better not say anything about it. Yeah, I was just gonna say what the working title is, but maybe I'm not. I shouldn't do that. Yeah,
No doubt.
right. Thesis. Yeah, that's what's up.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what you were asking about the parental. Yeah, so that's how we hooked up, you know. And he said I'm a big fan, blah 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 blah, and that's that. I say, yeah, no problem. I'm not doing much, it's pandemic shut everything down, man. So that a lot of that stuff started coming. Then, hey Don, I hear you still doing, what are you doing with those records from the 90s? Nothing, man. What's up with them? Man, people still dig those, man. Really? Yeah, man, you should have licensed them, man, Well, what are you talking about? Well, this. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's give it to the. And
Right.
then those records started happening. And I said, man, so that's when the scheme started happening to make new material, and I started experimenting, and how to how it goes. You
Right.
end up with a stack and a stack and a
Right.
beats, rhymes, or
Life.
right. Yeah, there you go. The low end theory, man.
Yes, sir. You dropped the
So
tone generator earlier this year. Can you talk about that project?
yeah, right. That again, that was a really wonderful DJ. Debonair P. I believe is from Belgium, and he reached out, says, "Yo, man." Now he did the scratches on Osmosis, and I loved his work so much. I said, "Man, I mean, I'm doing demos, man. Would you be interested in just, you know, helping me with, and put those wonderful things in there, man?" He said, "Oh man, I'd love to do that, man. I'm a fan." I was like, whatever. So he was helping me with little things I was working on at the time. And I said, man, this is so cool that I love this sound and this old school sound. I said, man, how about I just do some tune, you got some tracks or something, or whatever. And he said, what? Boom. So he started sending me a ton of stuff, and I'm like, oh. So then I went through, picked out some stuff, and I said, yo, man, bless that. Because he looked out. He looked out. And I heard that project did pretty good too, as far as what he told me. I mean, he said everything, it moved. So I said, okay.
Dope.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your group, Open Mind?
Yes. Uh, the open mind was something I put together to work on a concept I had about sound and about rhythm and about the muse of music, meaning the living element within the music, the thing that still touches you about that Al Green record or that It's something when you hear music or music that means something to you is never old, right?
Right.
So to me, I find that that's the living element of the music. I mean, if you're actually reacting to it still, that means there's something alive. There's something there that moves you.
Right.
So that's tangible, right? I mean, it moves you.
Right.
Some people tears, some joy, memories. Oh, my first girl, man, roller skate. That to me, I call that the living aspect of the music, which never dies. So I wanted to explore I wanted to work out a format where you could tap into that and not put it in a bottle, but sort of condition a band to always be able to let that out at any given moment, like not really have too many preconceived um approaches, you know, like let's do the routine, blah blah blah. No, let's be ourselves, feel this room, feel this crowd, and see what happens, which is terrifying. But for a guy who's been sitting behind a drum machine with beta beats measured out for 20 years, you know, for me to hear what up, you know, that was magical to me. Like I'm on stage going, yeah, you go. Yeah, yeah, you know, yeah, it's your band, man. And I'm like, okay, right, right. This is
Right.
not, you don't sample this, you know, this is, you know, let me
Right.
hear that bar again. No, no. Every bar is different in this music.
Right.
So it's about the living, being with the living quality of the music as it is, without judgment, without any reflection about what was, rather to be with it as it is. And to, you know, it challenges you as a listener to open yourself, to, you know, to be
Right.
vulnerable, you know,
Dope.
and to be enriched possibly at the end of the proceedings.
Yes, sir. Now,
Yeah.
new album Thesis is due out August the 30th, written and
Yeah.
produced by yourself. What can we expect from this project?
You could expect meat and potatoes. I mean, it's not spacey, right? And it's not uh all the way gutter. Um, is it 90s influence? Yeah. You know, it let's see. Okay, see, if a jazz guy is making a record and then he says, I'm gonna make a bebop album, it's respected in jazz. It's like, even if it's, excuse me, even if it's an album 2024 and he says, yeah, you know, I'm, you know, doing the bebop tradition, they go, whoa, you know? So for me, this album, I had no problem getting into a 90s bag, you know? I mean, I trust me, I have demos that you would say is, you could say is what's more happening now, you know? I
Right.
mean, I'm a musician, I'm a creative person, so I don't have any boundaries, like, or I don't have any qualms about trying anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, um, that's basically what I was thinking when I did this one. I said, I want the 90s vibe. I don't hear enough of it. And I have a feeling that that will resurface in some kind of form or fashion along with the artists who participated. I said this to some key friends of mine, you know, some key associates, people that you may know. I said, this is going to happen. It has to happen. You know, it has to happen. You can't have soul reviews and Def Leppard and ACD. You know, you can't have all and Rolling Stones still and then not have it with rap.
Right.
It's impossible. Come on, too many great artists, too many great songs, a whole cultural boom explosion. How you not gonna have that the energy from that retro generate? You know,
Right.
so I just thought that it would be nice to try to usher that along, or like just point to the fact that it's a possibility, you know, and it's a valid, I don't want to say genre, it's a valid expression, you know, 90s hip hop, you know, in my opinion.
Right.
Everybody may be a critic and they're entitled to it. It's beautiful. I love the freedom of everybody thinking what you want, being who you are. So I would just say about the music on Thesis, it's just my favorite type of music. Well, it's something I wanted to do, to pay homage to the way I used to do music, the way I used to write, and you know, stuff like that. Well, it's in there. It's in there. the lyrics are a little bit, they're very simple, but underneath them is where all the secret sauce is. Whereas in the old days, you want to swing all your swords outside, look how big my sword is and look how fast I can parry, and but this time around, I thought it was more fun to just have something simple on the outside. And then if you're really into it or you really want to do what a lot of hip hop fans do and they just, hmm, then you start hearing stuff. Oh, oh, I see. Oh, that was from the first bar. And he put, oh, that type. Whether it's achieved, you you guys will tell me, but that was the idea going into it.
Right.
And musically, I just wanted to pay homage to all my favorites who came before, and just do some of the stuff that I liked hearing, that I missed hearing. Basically.
Very
You
dope.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the viewers who want to know, where can they find this album at?
Oh man, they could go to hhv.de, and they can jump on it like that. And I'm sure by the 30th it'll be everywhere where you stream, where you get your product from. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think the link is still on the my Instagram, like in the bio, for the singles and stuff. I think the last one that came out was a Thesis. There were 3 singles off of it. I mean, that's the way they roll it out these days. But yeah, so it's pretty good. 3 different aspects off of the album, and lot of more different things on the album. So a lot of material, and it didn't seem like a lot until it was all put together, and I'm like, that's a lot, and a lot didn't make it. So I mean, but everybody knows that about me by now. Like,
Right.
well, so next 10 years, these are the demos from Thesis.
Right.
Oh, here we go again.
Right.
So, but it's funny, man, because I find myself almost trying to make demos on purpose. That's when it gets corny. I'm like, I've made a demo. No, no, I just delete it. Like, no, 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 no. You can't do it like that. That's not the way it happened. It's not
Right.
the way it happened. So yeah, man. So yeah, Thesis very simple, but underneath is where the secret sauce and the things that you may want to find that was in the other stuff on the outside, back in the Cenobites day and the Hazardous stuff. It's inside now. It's more esoteric, you may say, or more cult, like a little bit hidden, and it's cool. I like it that way. It's more. It gives me more, not a challenge, but it's more fun to spend my time if I'm going to be writing, to at least endeavor to do something that may have that effect.
Right.
It's a worthy goal, as Bruce Lee used to say.
Right.
Yeah.
You plan on touring for this project?
Well, I would like to. I mean, this may sound uh, counter counterintuitive, man, but I would like a situation where I could go with my band. You know, I mean, I know that's a tall order, but because I've released some jazz records as well. With lots of famous people and some under my own title, my own name and stuff. But and certain crowds know about that stuff and whatever. But I'm trying to find a way to possibly present everything all at once. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, I don't know if that's possible, and I don't know if that's even um reasonable, you know, to do or to ask. But I mean, I've never seen it done before. I thought it could be something different, something else, you know.
Right. Once Thesis does its thing, what can we expect next from Godfather Don?
Um, More craziness, more music, more pushing the boundaries, more just more being with the thing as it is, you know.
Right.
You know, let the thing do what it will do with us as creative vessels. That's how I see it. I'm not looking to make the thing into this. I'm looking for the thing to shower me to what is it going to be this time around or this go around, this round, this record, this what is it, you know?
Right.
So that's how I guess you can expect something else. Let's put it that way. Something else, literally.
Right. As far as
Yeah.
merchandise, where can they find that at?
Yeah. Again, we got some stuff there at hhv.de, and you know, could always stay tuned on my Instagram just to see if, you know, what stuff comes through. I'm always, you know, working on something.
Right. I know you
Yeah.
don't do these interviews a lot,
No,
but I definitely appreciate the opportunity. This is by
no,
far one of my favorite interviews. Before we get out of here, any last words for your day one supporters?
oh yeah. Love y'all, man. And I mean it's I consider myself very lucky to even be, you know, remembered as legendary or whatever terms they want to use, or the worst, whatever, you know, just to, you know, you're considered. They say you, even if you don't like something, you have to care about it a certain amount in order to have an opinion on it about, you know what I mean? It
Right.
has to be in there. So just, yeah, love the day ones, man, and they are basically the impetus and the stimulus that inspired the thing, you know, that I'm expressing at this point. To be fair, right? To be
Right.
fair, you know, that I mean, I could dedicate Thesis to them. You know, that's how I feel about it personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
so
that's what I would say to them. This is for you guys, pretty much.
Like you said, the album is out August the 30th. Run out and
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said, thank you again for the opportunity. I am
Yeah,
your
man.
Sin-seer. That's the legendary Godfather Don. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Best
Sincere,
wishes
no
to you.
problem, man. Very fun, very cool, man. It went a lot smoother. I mean, I don't do these things a lot, but
Right.
it's cool, man. I can do them when they go like this. Really, really, really nice, man. Really
Absolutely.
nice.
Thank you
Cool.
so much. Best wishes, and let's stay in touch.
Yeah, no doubt, brother. Thank you.
Right.
Peace,
Thank you so
man.
much.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
All
Thank you.
right.